Irfaan Ali, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces and President of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana, Honorable Prime Minister, Mr. Mark Phillips, Honorable Madam Chancellor, Honorable Minister of Home Affairs, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Home Affairs, members of the Joint Services, current Commissioner of Police, former Commissioner of Police, Police Legal Advisor, National Security Advisor, members of the Cops and Face Committee Network and Police Colony Heroes Foundation Inc., senior and junior officers of the Guyana Police Force, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen. Permit me please to add my own words of welcome to that given by our conference chairman, and to say welcome to this opening ceremony for our annual Officers Conference 2021. I specifically extended a hearty welcome to Your Excellency, our President, for taking time off from his busy schedule to be here at our conference. Thank you, sir. It gives me great pleasure to be able to host this, our annual Officers Conference, where we meet to review, re-examine, analyze our operations, policies, administrative procedures, strategies in dealing with crime, traffic, and other responsibilities, in keeping with our mandate and plan for the future, so that we can maintain our mission under the Police Act 1601 of the laws of Guyana. As would have been observed, our conference theme is enhancing professionalism, police community relations, and confidence through continuous security sector reform and partnerships. Our theme has been carved so that we can examine ourselves within those areas over the next few days to see where we are and where we ought to be. The past year has produced some challenges for the Guyana Police Force, but the force rose to those challenges admirably, utilizing all its resources, and once again withstood the many pressures cast upon it by various issues which arose from time to time. The Guyana Police Force was able to provide adequate security for the general and regional elections, as well as the transition of the new government. Our collaborative effort with other members of the joint services in our continuing effort on the front line in the fight against the prevailing COVID-19 pandemic have been significant and should not go unnoticed. During the year, we have experienced a 14% increase in road fatalities. However, we have also recorded a 5.9% decrease in serious crime. Between January 1 to March 1st this year, we have recorded 46.6% decrease in serious crime and 19% decrease in fatal accidents compared to the same period in 2020. Indeed, while police have no direct control of crime, no effort is spared to exercise crime control by utilizing methods of prevention and detection. During conference, we will be reviewing and re-examining our strategies as we want to ensure that our performance in the fight against crime this year is better than last year. We will continue to work diligently in terms of our raids, roadblocks, robust anti-crime patrol, and intelligence network, bolstered by division crime intelligence units and analytical work by way of data collected through the Integrated Crime Information System. Excellency, the Guyana Police Force will also continue its strategic, proactive approach towards dealing with crime in collaboration with its auxiliaries and government and non-government organizations, as well as members of the public in various communities. Here, I wish to express appreciation for the invaluable assistance being given to the police by members of the various community policing groups on a voluntary basis and the neighborhood policing personnel in the fight against crime. Presently, there are 186 community policing groups with a total membership of 3,277 persons countrywide. I anticipate, given the trust of the Ministry of Home Affairs, that this partnership will be further strengthened. The performance of the Criminal Investigation Unit of the force is commendable, and in their work they would have received meaningful support from crime intelligence and police crime lab by way of ballistics, fingerprint, and evidence obtained. Noteworthy is the work of the Major Crimes Unit. On this development, I want to highlight significant contribution of the Justice Education System of Canada in relation to training of police investigators and crime scene technicians, as well as the acquisition of the requisite technology and the involvement of the United States and United Kingdom government to facilitate the work of RAMS training. Within recent years, the police have been able to dismantle a number of criminal groups, and while presently no gang has been identified, we continue to work through intelligence-led policing to interdict those criminals and other elements involved in armed robberies, especially with illegal firearms, brought in the country to our expansive border, which sometimes pose difficulty for law enforcement. A total of 136 firearms were recovered by the police during 2020, comprising of 72 pistols, 21 revolvers, 38 shotguns, 4 rifles, and 1 submachine gun. A total of 12 firearms were recovered by the police from the 1st of January to the 2nd of March this year, comprising of 5 pistols, 3 revolvers, and 4 shotguns. Recognizing the extent and type of terrain which affects response to our number of police activities, checkpoints have been established in divisions, along with frequent roving patrols and stop and search operations. And we have been working closely with our subject ministry, Ministry of Natural Resources, the Guyana Diamond and Miners Association, the Geology and Mines Commission, and other stakeholders to ensure more effective management and control of these areas. We continue to work determinedly against the illicit drug trade, and during last year, some 490 kilograms of cocaine were seized during police operations, resulting in 29 cases being made with a total of 40 persons being charged. 809 kilograms, 479.26 grams of cannabis sativa were also seized and destroyed, from which 313 cases were made and 423 persons were charged. Much of the marijuana destroyed resulted from our operations in the upper Barbees River area and at the Suicide-Linden Highway. Along with intensified collaboration with local, regional, and international law enforcement agencies, we will continue to maintain our focus in the fight against drugs. We also continue to work on a multi-agency approach, targeting trafficking in person and domestic violence. In relation to domestic violence, with the force's zero-tolerance approach and policy, no rank can opt to settle any matter, but must take appropriate action leading to the matter being placed before the courts. In view of its serious effect on society, the government has established a 914 domestic hotline where persons, including victims of domestic and sexual violence, can call for assistance. The force also pursued an aggressive policy of training for RAMS in domestic violence, which has become institutionalized, forming part of the curriculum for recruitment at the Phyllis Austin Police College. The available statistics indicate that police received and dealt with 1,662 reports of domestic violence in 2020, compared to 1,449 in 2019. The investigations resulted in 894 persons being charged and placed before the courts, and 106 persons warned in 2020. Your Excellency, in relation to traffic, 139 road fatalities were recorded in 2020, compared to 122 the previous year. The fatalities for last year comprised of cyclists, motorcyclists, pillion riders, pedestrians, occupants in cars, drivers and passengers of minibuses. Speeding continued to be a major contributing factor to fatal accidents, causing 106 of the 128 fatal accidents in 2020. The statistics indicate that driving under the influence of alcohol, distracted or inattentive driving, and non-compliance with traffic signals, road markings, or among other contributory elements. And during the past year, Our enforcement operations are for the most part focused on these areas. I wish to express appreciation for the invaluable assistance the Guyana Police Force continues to receive from the National Road Safety Council, the Ministry of Home Affairs, the Ministry of Works, and other stakeholders in our effort with road safety for all users. While we have seen some indications of improvement in the use of roadways by the motorists and pedestrians, there are still many persons who use the roadways in a manner not consistent with the 5 C's of care, courtesy, consideration, common sense, and caution. And we urge them to do so in the interest of their own safety and that of the other road users, in order that we may have a lesser number of persons losing their lives to fatal accidents, even as we continue with rigorous enforcement on the laws. The Guyana Police Force continues to place significant focus on security reform. The security reform process is aimed at improving safety and security through enhancing the effectiveness and accountability of the police force by operating according to the human rights and the rule of law, improving public trust and confidence, and producing more versatile police ranks. This is intended to be achieved by implementing measures to promote greater probity in the work of the police and to ensure greater integrity among its members, thereby strengthening professional responsibility. The current strategic management plan provides the structure and the vision for achieving success for modern, accountable, and professional police force. The 5 areas of work critical to the development of the strategic plan are operational priorities, people, partnership, performance, and infrastructure. This is a work in progress, however. Some of the activities completed under the strategic management plan are the refurbishing and remodeling of 12 police stations designed to be more public-friendly, with work ongoing on 6 others, along with the construction of a new station at Parfait Harmony, introduction of the team policing, and the appointment of Divisional Community Relations Officer to improve public-community interactions, the appointment of Divisional Media Liaison, the establishment of an Occupational Health and Safety Unit, the establishment of Divisional Complaints Unit, job skill training for at-risk youth, and the establishment of a Community Action Council in a number of communities to assist with crime prevention. The institutional modernization of the Guyana Police Force is moving apace, and the force wishes to express its deep appreciation for the show of confidence and tangible support being given by the government in order that we can carry out our mandate in a professional manner and maintain public safety and security of our country. Your Excellency, we in the Guyana Police Force cannot do it alone. We need the support of the public in many instances if we are to effectively fight crime and maintain law and order. Consequently, while we recognize and appreciate the supportive roles of the community policing group and the neighborhood police, we are reaching out to the public at large in order to avoid this us and them situation in which we sometimes find ourselves. The Guyana Police Force has long recognized the importance and necessity of forging positive relationships with communities and the public in general in order to effectively carry out responsibilities and our mandate, while at the same time engendering trust and confidence. The force has over time been moving forward towards social intervention in communities and is involved in a number of projects and programs aimed at developing better police-community relations, many of which have a specific focus on youth of our society. While the COVID-19 pandemic has adversely affected the vibrancy of our social crime prevention programs in policing divisions, we nevertheless have continued social interaction with various community leaders, inclusive of religious and private sector leaders. The force has maintained partnership programs with the Cops and Faith Community Network and continues to work with us on the Fallen Heroes Foundation, the Suicide Helpline, the Family Liaison of Serious Crimes, and the Lorna Driver Theoretical Examination. Partnership has also been maintained with the overseas-based Guyanese Zaro Group that has assisted tremendously in the information technology arena with the establishment of computer training centers in the force and training of police ranks and members of the public. We have also noted the importance of collaboration, and we have members of the public as part of the station management committees and training and traffic advisory boards. Police youth groups and police scouts are also being maintained, with 65 youth groups with a total membership of 3,775, while there are 10 police scout groups with a total of 321 youths being involved. We intend to inculcate in them good social and moral values in order that they may be more productive and not easily led astray, and also that through them we can attract the interest and involvement of the adults in the community. By cultivating partnerships, we have been able to employ a more holistic approach to crime prevention that better serve communities in need and increase public safety and trust. However, the work of law enforcement is very dynamic in nature, and as such, there is always room for improvement. In keeping with our trust to build trust and confidence this year, 2021 will see great involvement in community work, community outreach, and community involvement, with emphasis on molding youth. We, the police, must be seen as playing an influential role in the communities. The COVID-19 pandemic has impacted on the sustainability of training during the year. However, we were still able to train 1,517 ranks who benefited from 58 training courses in the area of trafficking enforcement, immigration, forensic video analysis, training on the preparation of court, and being an effective witness to force video analysis, domestic violence, frontline security officers, international passenger introduction training, forensic investigations, just to name a few. The Guyana Police Force's concept of operations has always been one of minimum force, constrained and guided by standing order, as well as the code of conduct for the law enforcement officers adopted by the UN General Assembly. We have on stream a number of training programs which aim to foster more professional attitude by ranks. They focus on such areas as conflict resolution, anger management, dealing with people, and policing a multicultural and diverse society, and are designed to act as a catalyst for change in the conduct and behavior attitudes of ranks. However, the use of force in police operations continues to be a contentious issue. The attitude of some members of the force towards the public and the deviant behavior of some others, particularly corruption, are of concern to the force's administration, as they impact negatively on public trust and confidence and the image that we are trying to inculcate. We have been dealing with such matters in the main true office of the professional responsibility, which has been decentralized to all policing divisions for greater effect. During last year, the department received 193 complaints against members of the force compared to 303 in 2019. The force will continue to take condign action against those ranks whose behavior or actions are found not to be consistent with the discipline and ethics, and will continue to charge those found culpable, either departmentally or criminally, as warranted. Presently, we have some 47 ranks before the court on criminal charges. The Guyana Police Force has a lot of dedicated and professional men and women who do their job with pride. They are genuine and eagerly assist members of public with their requests for service and protection. Admittedly, there are a few who exhibit deviant behavior, but once found out, they are dealt with accordingly. Your Excellency, despite the challenges, the Guyana Police Force have generally done well during 2020, having responded with determination. We have discharged our mandate in 2020. There is much more work to be done this year and the years ahead. And cognizant that there will always be challenges in law enforcement, we will continue to work tirelessly to ensure that citizens feel safe in the society and continue their legitimate activities to build a country of peace, progress, and prosperity. I wish to compliment all dedicated and committed members of the force who have placed their minds and shoulders to the wheel of law enforcement and assisted in keeping our country safe. We are conscious of the expectations of society, which include the fact that we must provide the highest quality of service in our country, its government and its citizens, develop effective strategies with members of public in the fight against crime and traffic lawlessness on our roads, and courtesy, integrity, honesty, dedication, impartiality, professionalism must be common attitudes in our operational life. The role of the security forces is vital to the economic development of the country and the well-being of our people. Being the premier law enforcement agency, The task of Guyana Police Force has not always been an easy one, but it has maintained close to 182 years of noble service to the citizens of the country. And in view of all the initiatives and plans that are on the table, we pray that we'll be able to continue to hold our heads high. Suffice to say that we are ready to face whatever challenges confront us in 2021 as we consolidate on the gains of 2020. Ladies and gentlemen, I now have the distinguished honor and privilege of introducing our next speaker. His Excellency Dr. Mohamed Irfaan Ali was sworn in as Guyana's 9th Executive President on August 2, 2020. Born in Leonora, West Coast, Demerara on April 25, 1980, to two educators, Dr. Ali spent most of his formative years at Guyana. He is a past student of the Leonora Nursery and Primary School and Cornelia Ida Primary School, and completed his secondary education at St. Stanislaus College, Georgetown. President Ali holds a doctorate in urban and regional planning from the University of West Indies, a Master of Arts degree in manpower planning, a postgraduate diploma in international business, a postgraduate certificate in finance from Angelica Ruskin University, a Bachelor of Arts degree with honors in business management from the University of Sunderland. He is currently pursuing a master's degree in international commercial law at the University of Salford. President Ali is a former member of the Canadian Institute of Management and also a former member of the Project Management Professionals. In his early years, he served as project manager of the Caribbean Development Bank Implementation Unit in the Ministry of Finance and senior planner at the State Planning Secretariat. Dr. Ali became a member of the National Assembly in 2006. He was subsequently appointed with the portfolios of Minister of Housing and Water and Minister of Tourism, Industry and Commerce. In 2015, when the PPC went into opposition, during that which time he served as chairman of the Public Accounts Committee and co-chair of the Economic Services Committee of the Parliament of Guyana. Your Excellency, you have been at the helm of this country for a relatively short period, but you've already made lengthy strides and have shown admirable and effective leadership in several quarters. This is the first occasion on which we have the distinct honor of your presence at the annual Officers Conference, and we eagerly await your charge, which will form part of our focus during conference and for the years ahead. May I take the opportunity, sir, to invite you to deliver your maiden address.
Prime Minister, Chancellor of the Judiciary, Cabinet Minister Roxton Ben, advisors, public servants, Army Chief Acting, officers of the Guyana Police Force. Good morning. This morning, I'm very pleased to be part of this program. And after years and years of assembling at these forums, what have we achieved? What changes have we seen? What strategic direction have we adopted? What policies were crafted? And what direction was given? These are questions I'm sure we all should ponder upon as we assemble once more at this forum. In answering these questions, we can say it's an annual event of form, or we can say it's an event that creates an opportunity to make a difference. The choice is ours. Today, I would like to share my views on some things that are critical and essential in ensuring the success of the force and the safety and security of the people of Guyana. Where do we start? What is our current position? The first issue is, how do we reposition ourselves? Understanding where we are now, as against where we should be, not where we ought to be, where we should be. Because where we ought to be is defined by the future requirement of the force that is critically and integrally linked to the future direction of the country. You can have the greatest advancement and modernization of the legal system, but if you don't have the corresponding development of the security sector, the police, that administers a lot of that, what happens in the legal system, then you will have a gap. And the system looks sluggish, where the laws are far in advance as to where we are operating. And that brings a negative perception. So the first thing is understanding where we are as against where we ought to be. Identifying that gap. And the gap has to be internal and external. What are the things within the police force that contribute to that gap? Whether it's skills gap, the gap of professionalism, the gap of attitude, the gap of resources, the gap of commitment, the gap of loyalty. We first examine that internal gap. And then we have to look external to the force. What is contributing external to the force to that gap? Societal behavior, changes in community, conditions of work, bilateral arrangements, agreements with bilateral partners, changes in the international environment, changes in the nature of crime, understanding the external gap. In doing this, we then have to do a realistic assessment of our capability, our weaknesses, our strength, the opportunities that are there, the direction in which the country is going and the force is going, and the requirement and the future demands of the force. Guyana's future is going to change. Are we preparing ourselves for that change, or we're transiting in a normal pace to what the future requires us to be? If we're doing that, we're marking time. If we're doing that, we're marking time. So that is the first aspect of our work. The first Commissioner. Repositioning ourselves in this environment we operate in. After this repositioning and examining what is required for this repositioning, what does it lead to? It has to lead to something that looks at the structure. So we reposition, understand where we ought to be, and then we have to restructure how we do things. We spoke at length about regionalization, strengthening of regional capacity, decentralization, greater empowerment at the regional level and community level, integration of other organizations within the regions themselves, building regional intelligence apparatus, making regional command and regional management more accountable. So, we have to look at regionalization. Specialized units in every region. The future would not give us the time to send in what is normally termed a high-level team from the major crimes unit to investigate something 2 days old in a different region. We have to have capacity in the regions. We have to build the capacity, build the institutions, and strengthen the institutions. It must not be a top-down, top-heavy approach. It has to be an integrated approach, where every level is strengthened to operate at its optimal level. That begs the discussion on our organizational structure itself. What was the structure designed to achieve, as against what is needed in today's society and the future for our country? Is it optimal? Are there recommendations that we may come up with if we find it to be suboptimal? What are those recommendations? In restructuring, the goal has to be efficiency, effectiveness, responsiveness, and it requires clarity of vision. Not mixture of vision. No individual or group is running a separate arm of the force. There must be one common vision. One approach, a singular approach that is only confined to service to the people. Very important. The clarity of vision, the clarity of purpose, the clarity of action. This is what leads to effective policing. I have done my survey. I spend time to talk to people. I have asked more than 20 officers already in short conversation. What is the vision? And I got 20 different answers. Where is the clarity of vision? That is the start point. So I've touched on repositioning, restructuring. You can have the best structure, but the worst brand. You can have the best people, and let me say this, the Guyana Police Force has talented, highly qualified, skilled officers and personnel. We are not lacking in that department at all. But one of the issues we have is the brand. You can have the best product, but if you have a bad brand, you have problems. So we reposition, we restructure, and we have to look at rebranding. What does rebranding mean to us? How do we want to be known to the people out there and the world at large? What image we want of ourselves? How do we achieve this brand success? How do we achieve this brand success? And I hope at some point in the agenda we can have a strategic thinking session where we can even include some strategic marketing experts that look at branding. How do we create the image that we want out there? How do we achieve this brand success? How do we protect the brand? We cannot just build a brand. We cannot just develop the brand, market the brand, and then leave it on its own. We have a duty and a responsibility to protect the brand when we build the brand. We see daily assault on the brand. Daily assault on the brand. I don't care where the assault comes from. We have a duty and a responsibility to protect and defend the brand once the brand is operating in the framework it is designed to operate in. How do we ensure in the development of this brand we create goodwill and add value? If you run a business, the future success of the business depends on the goodwill of the business. That's the value. When you sell a business, the greater the goodwill, the higher the value. Each one of us, each one of you will pass through the course. What goodwill are you leaving behind? What addition to the value will you leave? Calls for individual thinking, individual change, and individual commitment. So we spoke about repositioning, restructuring, rebranding. And an important part of that rebranding is building trust. In doing all of this, we surely have to reorganize how we do our work. And I coined the phrase here that has already been used, smart policing. S-M-A-R-T. Systems, manpower, attitude, reliability, and technology. That's the fourth component, smart. How do we build systems? The S of smart. How do we create systems that will work? Then the M. How do we develop the right manpower? How do we ensure we have the right training for the manpower? The A of smart, attitude. What is our attitude to work? What is our attitude to the development of the force? What is our attitude individually and collectively? The R, reliability. Very important. People require us to be reliable. We should be the greatest and most reliable partner to our citizens. They depend on us. If we are unreliable, we will destroy the brand. And the T is technology. An important part of smart policing is technology. That is why I've asked on all the new highways we'll be building to incorporate in those highways the use of technology to help policing. In the interlink between Diamond and Eccles, for example, we have many new features that take into consideration safety and security. Watchtowers, cameras, lighting, outpost facility, quick response outposts. Because technology is an important part of smart policing. And the second component is policing. P. People. Has to be people-centered. Has to be people-oriented. O part of it is the organization. One of the bodies that need the greatest teamwork is the police force. You can't have Lone Rangers. You have to act as an organization, behave as an organization. You depend on each other. So how do we build the organization? The L part of policing, learning. Sometimes we think by graduating to a position in the force, we don't need to learn anymore. Sometimes you need to unlearn habits and relearn new habits. Even at the level of the presidency. Every day it's continuous learning. That is the only way we can remain grounded. When we understand that we can all make mistakes, but we must all commit ourselves to learning and unlearning and relearning. That is what keeps us fresh. That is what keeps the brain fresh and active. Our enthusiasm and motivation to learn. The I part of policing, integrity. And we have to address it. How do we build this integrity? How do we demonstrate a new zeal to achieve this integrity that the public want from us? The C part is community. How do we involve the community? We have already spoken about great involvement of community policing. Involvement of young people. Involvement of women. Supporting community initiatives. That is the way we build trust. We build harmony. We break down the barriers of division. And we create the oneness of the society we all want to live in. The I part again is intelligence. Most successful policing force and organizations are those that are intelligence-led. Not reactive, but proactive. Not reactionary, but always ahead of a situation. How do we build this intelligence capacity and capability to create a proactive force? The N part of policing, networking. Sometimes we create so much distance between ourselves and the rest of the society that we make it impossible to network. We have to identify key players, key organizations, and build that network that is critical for our success. And the G part of policing is goal-oriented. Must be goal-oriented. Must be able to achieve targets. Sometimes when you listen to the report, the target is not set. The target is defined by how much crime we have. In proactive policing, the target can be predetermined. How do we set those targets? So we dealt with repositioning, restructuring, rebranding, and reorganizing. Now, What else is required? To achieve this, we need to retool. Identifying training needs, having a gap analysis done in relation to what training is required, and building a training program that responds to that gap analysis. Not the traditional training program that we go through all the time in a monotonous way. The training has to be linked to something, has to be linked to that gap analysis. In retooling, we have to look at our physical assets. We have been investing over the last 7 months heavily in the police force, heavily in retooling. Soon we should have the arrival of more vehicles. We have to have better working environment for you. If we want to create the respect too, we have to build the environment that gives that respect. And I agree with that. We have to give the right environment for the right policing. So part of retooling is looking at the working environment, looking at the methods. I've already tasked the National Security Advisor to do a methods analysis and to come up with recommendations. What type of force is required for type of policing? And how do we invest in that to support what the Ministry of Home Affairs from a policy perspective is trying to do? So the methods, very important in retooling, because the retooling must be linked to our method of policing. And the visibility. How does retooling allow us to be more visible? Give greater visibility to the force. After retooling, we have to re-engineer. We have to re-engineer our approach that would lead to greater efficiency, better methods, and link us to the future of policing and the future needs of the police force. In doing all of this, we have to repair. We have to repair our image. We have to repair how we are perceived. We have to repair relationships. We have to repair relationships. We have to repair the organizational structure. And we have to repair our brand. Repairing this must be guided by professionalism, must be guided by people, and must be guided by patriotism. I am not asking you to do anything extraordinary, but to understand what are the principal values of a country. You have a right and a duty to defend democracy. Part of professional conduct is the way we approach issues of democracy. We can set ourselves aside, or we can set our mark, depending on how do we approach these issues. No order that defeats or derails democracy can be an order that upholds the high standards and professionalism of the police force. You can be the best force, but there are some boundaries and principles you should never cross. And no one should allow you to cross. It is not only the internal environment that looks at you, It is the external environment. I'm very frank when I speak. I want the best for the force. I will support the best for the force. I'll work every day to get the best outcome. But there are some boundaries that inherently all of us must swear to uphold and protect. There is no compromise on those principles and boundaries. So professionalism, people, and patriotism, critical for success. All of this would equal to redefining us. The end of this conference must see a freshness, people focused, effective, and adaptable force, a lean and adaptable force that is flexible and fluid enough to respond in a changing world. Critical. And of course, we have responsibilities too. To recognize you when you perform. To recognize you when you achieve results. To reward you. Our economy will be growing. And I agree that we have to work on making the reward better. And we will make it a priority. Because you can do your best. But the system must recognize when you do your best. Recognition, reward, respect. We must first have respect for each other. We must have respect for each other. And finally, we have to be in a state of readiness. A readiness to embrace change, to embrace new ways, to embrace goals, vision, strategic thinking that adds to the betterment of the force and greater service to the people. So today, in a very brief manner, I've touched on repositioning, restructuring, rebranding, reorganizing, retooling, reengineering, repairing the image, redefining who we are, and redefining who we are, what it should be guided by, and how the executive, the responsibility of the government to you. So with these few words, I close by thanking you for your continued service. I close by assuring you of my personal commitment to your upliftment, whether it's owning your own home, giving you better conditions of work, better remuneration package, better support to your families. I give you my commitment and that of the government, that we are in partnership with you to achieve one goal, better service to the people of our country. Thank you very much, and God bless you.